Hello, I'm Andrew Steer, Director General for Policy and Research at the Department for International Development. There's a tendency to assume that the agricultural problem can be solved by raising lots of money and putting money into it. Money is absolutely essential, but quite frankly, without reforms, without new policies, without institutional changes, and without political leadership, that money will not lead to the results that we want. We're hopeful now that we're starting to see some possibility of getting it right. What is required is a country-led approach whereby the government within a country, not just the Ministry of Agriculture, but the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Planning and so on, prepares a plan that involves the agricultural sector, from farmers to industrialists to engage and civil society to engage, prepares a plan that would actually lay out the goal for agricultural yields, for all kinds of things, and lays out the kind of policy reforms and financial needs that are there. And then friends of that country, whether donors, whether international agencies, whether civil society, whether private sector that would be involved in agro-processing, sits down together and talks through, one, whether this is the right plan, and two, then thinks about how we can all help on that process. Now, it's only then, when you've got a sort of coherent approach, that you can then really use large sums of money well. There's a process now in Africa that's very encouraging called CAADP, where country after country is now preparing such agricultural and rural development plans. There is a central secretariat that provides assistance to ensure the quality. Now international agencies such as DFID, such as World Bank, are starting to take things much more seriously and really engaging. Donors like ourselves are standing by, ready to support financially. So we're actually quite encouraged. But it is very important that we do not assume that simply putting money in on its own. Many of these countries have ministries of agriculture that, quite frankly, are not ready for prime time. They tend to be backward-looking rather than forward-looking. And our job is, in a very friendly, supportive way, to help governments, from the prime ministers or the presidents on down, to realize that actually agriculture and rural development it has to be thought through with all the imagination and innovation that you would think through if you were doing some other sector like IT or macro planning or whatever. And too much in the past, ministries of agriculture and those people who have been thinking through such strategies have been rather blinkered with old-fashioned ways of doing business. So we need to bring the best ideas and discuss them thoughtfully at the national level and the international level. Exactly the same process now happens in health. It's called the International Health Partnership, where similarly many health ministries weren't very innovative. And now, little by little, we've got to a situation where country after country is preparing really quite professional plans. Donors and friends are sitting around, how can we finance it? Endorsed at the international level, money flows in, and then you get a feedback loop where others can learn from as well. And we're hoping the same thing now will happen for agriculture.